Emma Carter, a poor janitor, was humiliated by her coworkers, looked down upon by her boss, yet she silently endured it all because she needed the job to survive. One day she saw a homeless old woman being kicked out by security right in front of the Kingston Enterprises lobby. Without hesitation, Emma stepped forward to help her, unaware that this small act of kindness would change her life forever. The very next day, everything turned upside down. The CEO of the company, William Kingston, appeared with a strange expression on his face. Employees were left in shock as they uncovered the true identity of the homeless woman they had once scorned. But the most shocking revelation was the reaction of the powerful, wealthy CEO toward the janitor they had always ignored. What is happening? Why does the CEO suddenly care about a lowly janitor? What is the hidden truth behind the homeless woman? Stay tuned until the end to uncover the shocking twist. Watch until the end to discover the unexpected truth. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to support the channel for more high-quality videos. The scent of freshly polished floors filled the grand lobby of Kingston Enterprises, one of the most prestigious corporations in the city. Employees in sleek designer suits walked briskly across the gleaming marble tiles, their conversations filled with million-dollar deals, luxury vacations, and exclusive networking events. No one paid attention to the woman in a worn-out uniform, diligently scrubbing the floor near the entrance. To them, she was invisible. Emma Carter had been working as a janitor at Kingston Enterprises for over a year. Every morning before the sun had fully risen, she arrived at the towering glass building, put on her faded blue uniform, and began her work. Cleaning floors, emptying trash cans, and ensuring the hallways remained spotless. It was exhausting, but she had no choice. With no family to rely on and a pile of overdue bills waiting at home, she needed this job. Despite her hard work, Emma was constantly looked down upon. The employees barely acknowledged her existence, except when they needed to mock or belittle her. Vanessa, the head receptionist, was the worst of them all. Always dressed in the latest fashion, her high heels clicking loudly as she strutted across the floor, she made it her personal mission to make Emma's life miserable. "Hey, janitor girl, you missed a spot," Vanessa sneered one morning, pointing at an already clean section of the floor. Emma forced a polite smile and nodded. "I'll take care of it." Vanessa smirked, glancing at her colleagues who chuckled. "You should. It's not like you have anything better to do." The laughter echoed through the lobby as Emma swallowed the lump in her throat and continued scrubbing. She had learned long ago that fighting back would only make things worse. As she continued working, she noticed an elderly woman sitting in the corner near the entrance. Her clothes were tattered, her gray hair unkempt, and her frail hands trembled as she clutched a small paper bag. People walked past her without a second glance, their gazes filled with disgust or indifference. Security guards exchanged wary glances, clearly waiting for the right moment to remove her. Feeling a pang of sympathy, Emma set her mop aside and approached the woman. "Ma'am, are you all right?" she asked softly. The old woman lifted her head slowly, revealing deep wrinkles and tired eyes that seemed to hold stories of a long, difficult life. For a moment, she simply observed Emma, as if trying to understand the intentions behind her kindness. Then a small, knowing smile formed on her lips. "You have a kind heart, child," she murmured. Emma frowned slightly. "Do you need food or water? I don't have much, but I can share." Before the woman could answer, a stern voice interrupted them. "Hey, you can't sit here, lady. This is private property." A security guard marched over, his face twisted in irritation. The elderly woman didn't argue. She simply stood up, nodded at Emma, and walked toward the door. Emma watched her disappear into the bustling city streets, a strange uneasiness settling in her chest. Just as she turned back to her work, she noticed something odd. From the upper balcony, a man in a tailored gray suit was watching her. His sharp blue eyes were locked onto her, his expression unreadable. Emma quickly recognized him. William Kingston, the CEO of Kingston Enterprises, the most powerful man in the building. Her breath hitched as she quickly looked away, pretending to focus on her cleaning. Why was he looking at her? It didn't make sense. People like him never noticed people like her. Minutes later, the head of housekeeping, Mrs. Cooper, stormed toward her. "Emma, what are you doing?" she hissed. Emma looked up, confused. Cleaning, ma'am? Mrs. Cooper's eyes narrowed. Well, clean faster. The CEO is around today, and the last thing I need is you embarrassing me. No excuses. Just do your job properly. Emma swallowed hard and nodded. No matter how much effort she put in, it was never enough. That evening, after finishing her shift, Emma stepped outside into the chilly air. The sky was painted in shades of orange and purple as the sun set behind the city skyline. She sighed, adjusting her worn-out bag on her shoulder. It had been a long day, and all she wanted was to go home and rest. She didn't know it yet, but her life was about to change forever. The following morning, Olivia woke up feeling an unusual sense of heaviness in her chest. The previous day's events still lingered in her mind. The humiliation, the old woman's sorrowful eyes, and the inexplicable way Theodore had looked at her. She had long accepted her place in the world, a mere cleaner in a corporate empire where people only valued status and wealth. But for the first time in years, something inside her stirred. A small whisper told her she was meant for more. She pushed the thought aside and got ready for another long day at work. Her uniform was still slightly damp from washing it the night before, the fabric worn thin from years of use. She tied her hair back in a simple ponytail and grabbed her bag before stepping outside. The city was already alive with movement. Cars honked in the distance. Businessmen in sleek suits rushed past her on the sidewalks, and vendors set up their carts for the morning rush. Olivia made her way to Preston Holdings, her stomach twisting at the thought of facing Vanessa and the others again. She had endured their cruelty for so long, but yesterday had been worse than usual. Would it be even worse today? As she stepped into the gleaming lobby of the company, she immediately noticed a shift in the air. The employees were unusually quiet, their eyes darting toward the CEO's office. Olivia frowned slightly as she walked past the reception desk, where Vanessa and her group of friends stood huddled together, whispering. She didn't have time to wonder what was happening before Mrs. Cooper stormed toward her, her heels clicking sharply against the floor. Olivia, you are wanted in the CEO's office right now. Olivia's heart dropped. She had never stepped foot inside that office before. Why would Theodore want to see her? She searched Mrs. Cooper's face for clues, but the woman merely crossed her arms and gave her a sharp look. Don't keep him waiting. Swallowing her nerves, Olivia set down her cleaning supplies and made her way to the elevator. As the doors closed behind her, her mind raced with possibilities. Had she done something wrong? Had Vanessa complained about her again? Had she unknowingly broken a rule? The elevator dinged, and she stepped out onto the executive floor, where everything smelled of expensive cologne and polished leather. Taking a deep breath, she walked up to the large wooden door at the end of the hallway and knocked lightly. Enter. The deep voice sent a shiver down her spine. She hesitated for a second before pushing the door open. Inside, Theodore sat behind his massive desk, his sharp blue eyes locked onto her the moment she stepped in. He wasn't alone. The old woman from yesterday sat on a couch near the window, her hands resting gently on her lap. Olivia's breath caught. Sir, you wanted to see me, she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Theodore leaned back in his chair, his fingers tapping against the armrest. Yes. Sit down. Olivia hesitated before lowering herself onto the chair across from his desk, her hands clutching the hem of her uniform. The old woman smiled at her gently, but Theodore's expression remained unreadable. Do you know who she is? He asked, his gaze flickering toward the woman. Olivia swallowed. No, sir. Theodore studied her for a moment before exhaling. Her name is Eleanor Preston. The room suddenly felt smaller. Olivia's fingers went cold. Preston, as in my mother. Olivia's stomach dropped. Her heart pounded so loudly she could barely hear anything else. The old woman she had defended the day before was the mother of the most powerful man in the building. Eleanor watched Olivia with warm eyes. I knew there was something different about you, my dear. You were the only one who looked at me with kindness, not disgust. Olivia's mouth went dry. I didn't know you were. That is exactly why your actions mattered, Theodore cut in. You showed kindness without expecting anything in return. That is rare in this world. Olivia lowered her gaze, unsure of what to say. She had only done what she believed was right. Theodore leaned forward, his piercing gaze never leaving her. Do you enjoy working here? Olivia blinked at the unexpected question. I... It's a job, sir. I need it. That was not what I asked. Do you enjoy it? She hesitated. I... I enjoy working, but not the way people treat me here. Theodore's expression darkened. I see. A long silence filled the room. Olivia fidgeted under his intense gaze, feeling exposed, as if he could see every wound she had ever hidden. Finally, he spoke again, his voice steady and firm. As of today, you no longer work as a cleaner. Olivia's breath hitched. Sir, you will work in my office as my personal assistant. The words didn't register at first. Her brain struggled to process what he had just said. Theodore's gaze remained unwavering. You have potential, Olivia. You are not meant to scrub floors for people who don't respect you. I refuse to let someone with your heart be wasted here. Olivia stared at him in disbelief. This had to be a dream. But sir, I don't have experience in such a role. You will learn. She turned to Eleanor as if searching for confirmation that this was real. The older woman simply smiled. Trust yourself, my dear. You deserve this. Olivia's hands trembled. Her whole life she had been told she was nothing. She had accepted that fate without question. And now, sitting in the office of the most powerful man in the company, she was being given a chance she never thought possible. She met Theodore's gaze, her voice barely above a whisper. Why are you doing this for me? Theodore's lips curved into the smallest hint of a smile. Because you remind me of someone I once knew, and because the world needs more people like you in places of power. Olivia felt something deep inside her shift. For the first time in her life, she allowed herself to believe she was worth more than what the world had told her. Taking a shaky breath, she nodded. I will do my best, sir. Theodore nodded once. Good. Report to this office tomorrow morning. And Olivia. She looked up. Never let anyone tell you that you are less than what you are. As Olivia left the office, her heart was racing. The entire company was about to be shaken. The girl they had mocked, humiliated, and treated like dirt was no longer just the cleaner. She was now working alongside the CEO himself, and something told her this was only the beginning. Olivia stepped out of Theodore's office with a whirlwind of emotions. Everything had happened so fast. From an unnoticed janitor, she had now become the assistant to the CEO. She could hardly believe it was real. As she entered the elevator, the eyes of her co-workers fixated on her. Some looked annoyed, others stunned to the point of gaping. Vanessa stood near the front desk, her face pale with jealousy. Olivia knew that her life at Preston Holdings would never be the same again. Her first day as an assistant was anything but easy. Everything felt unfamiliar, from business terminology to the complex tasks Theodore assigned her. She had to learn how to manage schedules, respond to important emails, and participate in major meetings she had never been allowed to attend before. She felt lost in a world of power and intellect, but she refused to give up. Theodore was patient in guiding her, something she hadn't expected from someone as cold and strict as him. Every day he took time to teach her how to manage tasks, make decisions, and most importantly, trust herself. At first, Olivia felt overwhelmed, but gradually she began to adapt. She learned faster than she had imagined, and before long, she could handle her work more smoothly. However, not everyone was happy with the change. Rumors about Olivia spread throughout the company. Some believed she was given special treatment simply because she had helped Theodore's mother. Vanessa and her friends deliberately made things difficult for her by sending incorrect documents or disrupting her schedule. But Olivia refused to let that defeat her. She was determined to prove that she deserved her position, not because of luck, but because of her efforts. One day, the company hosted a major event with important partners in attendance. Olivia was assigned to organize everything. It was her chance to showcase her abilities, but it was also a big challenge. Unable to accept Olivia's success, Vanessa deliberately messed up the catering order, nearly ruining the entire event. When Olivia discovered the mistake, there was only an hour left before the event began. Her heart pounded, but instead of panicking, she quickly found a solution. She contacted an alternative caterer, negotiated an urgent delivery, and reorganized the serving area to ensure that no one would notice the issue. As the event unfolded seamlessly, Olivia stood in a corner, sighing in relief. Theodore approached her, his gaze filled with approval. "I watched how you handled the situation. You did well." Olivia smiled, feeling for the first time that she truly belonged. But her joy was short-lived as another incident occurred. One of the key guests accidentally dropped his phone into the small pond in the event's garden. No one dared to retrieve it because the water was cold and murky. Without hesitation, Olivia removed her shoes and stepped into the pond to retrieve the phone. Everyone stared at her in shock, and then a round of applause erupted. No one had expected an executive assistant to act so swiftly and decisively. Theodore looked at her with a different expression, one of admiration he himself did not fully understand. Weeks later, Vanessa was caught sabotaging Olivia's work and was immediately fired. Meanwhile, Olivia continued to rise within the company. Theodore's mother visited her often, treating her like a daughter. Then one day, Theodore invited Olivia to dinner. For the first time, he was not the cold and distant CEO, but a quiet yet sincere man. They talked about life and their past. Theodore admitted that he had been impressed by her perseverance and kindness from the very beginning. As time passed, their feelings deepened. Theodore was no longer just her boss, but the one person who truly saw her worth. A year later, Olivia was no longer a janitor. She became the director of Preston Holdings charitable projects, helping people in need just as she once had been. On that day, during a press conference, Theodore announced that Olivia was not only a director, but also the woman he would marry. The entire hall erupted in applause. Olivia looked at Theodore, her eyes shimmering with tears. She was no longer the girl who had been overlooked. She had proven that kindness and perseverance would always be rewarded. Olivia's story is not just about love, it is about resilience, determination, and compassion. So what do you think? Can kindness truly change a person's destiny? Have you ever helped someone without expecting anything in return? Share your thoughts with us.